Welcome back to my YouTube channel. We uncover the most astonishing stories from the world of rare coins and hidden treasures that might be sitting right in your pocket change, and today's story is one that will completely blow your mind because we're going to talk about the incredible 2002 D1 cent coin. A Lincoln penny that has shocked collectors and experts alike after examples of it were found selling for up to $4 million due to its extraordinary minting errors and remarkable historical quirks, making it one of the most valuable modern pennies ever discovered in circulation. And what makes this story so exciting is that many of these coins may still be out there, tucked away in jars, wallets, and old drawers, waiting for someone with a sharp eye to realize their worth and change their life forever. So let's dive deep into the mysteries, errors, and possibilities that make the 2002 D penny such a legendary find, because every tiny detail on this coin tells a story of minting mishaps, human error, and sheer numismatic luck that turned a simple 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar treasure. The 2002 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint, which has long been known for its precision but also for occasionally producing some of the most fascinating and valuable error coins in U.S. history, and in that year something truly unusual happened, possibly due to worn dies, misaligned hubs, and perhaps even experimental planchets that were not supposed to be used for regular strikes, creating a combination of conditions that produced several extremely rare error types, each of which today makes collectors go crazy when they spot one. Some of the most famous and valuable 2002 D1 cent errors include double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and transitional metal compositions, but the rarest and most valuable among them, the one that has fetched millions, is the 2002 D Lincoln cent that shows multiple overlapping minting anomalies, including a doubled obverse, a rotated die alignment, and traces of a transitional composition error where the coin's core metal seems slightly off from the standard copper-plated zinc formula, giving it a distinct appearance under magnification, with color tones that shift from reddish gold to dull bronze depending on the light. When experts first examined this peculiar coin, they were baffled by how many different types of errors seem to appear on a single penny, something that almost never happens under normal minting conditions, and this led to speculation that a batch of planchets from an earlier composition or even test strikes might have accidentally been mixed into the 2002 production run at Denver, which could explain why these few pieces show metallurgical properties that deviate slightly from standard 2002 D cents. For coin collectors and numismatists, such multi-error coins are the holy grail because they represent not only the physical mistakes of the minting process but also moments in mint history that slip through layers of inspection, making them both technically and historically significant. And when one of these 2002 D error cents surfaced at auction, it caused a bidding frenzy that pushed its final price to an astonishing $4 million, breaking expectations for any penny from the early 2000s. The collector who found it reportedly had picked it up from ordinary pocket change years earlier, unaware that this tiny coin would someday become a millionaire's dream come true, and his discovery reignited the passion of collectors everywhere to recheck their jars of pennies, especially those with a D mint mark from 2002. To understand why this coin could reach such an astronomical value, we need to look at what exactly makes minting errors so important, and how these errors happen in the first place, because not every mistake equals value. It's the type, rarity, and visibility of the error that determines its worth. During 2002, the U.S. Mint used advanced presses capable of striking hundreds of coins per minute, and even the smallest misalignment or mechanical flaw could result in doubled images, distorted lettering, or off-metal compositions, yet most of these were caught during inspection. However, if a die became slightly rotated or if a previously used die from a different year was retooled incorrectly, it could create overlapping designs, like the famous doubled Lincoln profile or misaligned, "In God We Trust," inscriptions that collectors find so fascinating. On the 2002 D penny, one of the key identifiers of the million-dollar variety is a noticeable doubling on Lincoln's I and the word "Liberty," accompanied by a slightly rotated die that causes the reverse to appear at an odd angle compared to the obverse when flipped, something that happens only when dies are improperly set. Another detail that adds to its uniqueness is a faint outline of an extra mint mark impression just below the D, as if the mint mark was punched twice or moved slightly during hubbing, giving it a ghostly shadow effect visible under magnification. Combine this with subtle but verifiable differences in metal tone, suggesting a transitional alloy between older copper-based compositions and the modern zinc ones, and you have a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic marvel that no collector could resist. The reason such transitional planchet errors are so valuable is that they shouldn't exist. The mint is supposed to use precise stock for each year's production, yet occasionally, leftover planchets from a previous composition year find their way into later strikes, resulting in coins that technically belong to two eras at once. The 2002 D penny is rumored to have such examples where the metal content analysis shows a slightly higher copper percentage than expected, giving it a heavier weight and richer tone, and that alone can push its value into six figures even before considering the die errors. Add in doubling, misalignment, or off-center strikes, and the price skyrockets, especially when the coin is in pristine uncirculated condition, showing clear red luster and minimal contact marks. Some of the rarest 2002 D error cents have been found with broad strike features, meaning the collar die that normally keeps the coin's rim in shape was missing or malfunctioning, allowing the metal to spread beyond its usual diameter, creating a pancake-like edge that fascinates collectors because it gives visual proof of a real-time minting malfunction. Other 2002 D pennies show clipped planchets, where a small crescent-shaped portion is missing from the coin, likely caused when a blank was punched from the edge of a metal sheet instead of the center, making these pieces look as if someone took a small bite out of them. But the most dramatic and high-value version remains the multiple error type where all of these features appear together: doubling, misaligned die, off-metal tone, and broad strike edges, forming a combination so rare that experts estimate fewer than a dozen such pieces could exist, and that rarity is exactly what pushes the top examples to prices as high as $4 million. What's fascinating about coins like this is not just their monetary value but what they tell us about the history of the US Mint and the complexity of industrial minting, where millions of coins are struck every day, yet a handful emerge as unintentional masterpieces due to tiny mechanical or procedural anomalies. Collectors often say that error coins are like fingerprints of history, no two are alike, and each one captures a unique moment in time when something went wrong, or perhaps perfectly wrong, to create beauty out of imperfection. The 2002 D Lincoln cent embodies that philosophy, and even though it began life as an ordinary penny worth just 1 cent, it now stands as a symbol of hidden fortune, of how small details can change everything. Many experts believe there might still be undiscovered examples waiting in circulation or coin rolls, and that possibility fuels the excitement of everyday treasure hunters, who meticulously check their coins with magnifying glasses, hoping to find that one flawed gem that could change their destiny. Some collectors speculate that the Denver Mint's high-speed presses in 2002 were undergoing calibration changes or maintenance, which might explain why certain dies were reused or reset at slight angles, causing the doubling and misalignment features seen in these ultra-rare coins. Others theorize that an experimental batch of planchets, possibly left over from earlier copper alloy testing, accidentally entered the penny production line, resulting in these mysterious color and weight differences that make metallurgists scratch their heads. Regardless of the exact cause, what's undeniable is the fascination this coin has created across the numismatic community, inspiring both experts and beginners to re-examine what they once dismissed as minor imperfections. The story of the 2002 D penny selling for millions isn't just about luck, it's about attention to detail, patience, and the thrill of discovery. Imagine finding a coin that everyone else overlooked, only to realize it's one of the rarest modern cents ever struck. That's the magic of coin collecting, and that's why stories like these continue to capture hearts and imaginations around the world. Even decades after its minting, the 2002 D 1 cent remains a topic of study and fascination, with experts publishing research on its die varieties, striking patterns, and metallurgical anomalies. Auction houses list them as multi-error transitional composition coins, and collectors watch in awe as bids climb. Next, 1991 cent, everyone to my channel where we dive deep into the fascinating and unbelievable world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and the extraordinary stories behind those tiny pieces of metal that can sometimes turn ordinary people into millionaires overnight. And today we're going to talk about one of the most mysterious and highly valuable pennies ever discovered, the 1990 Lincoln 1 cent coin, a coin that at first glance seems completely normal and worth just a single cent. But because of an incredible combination of minting mistakes, design errors, and historical quirks, certain examples of this 1990 penny have been valued as high as $3 million, making it one of the most astonishing pieces in modern numismatic history. And what's even more mind-blowing is that this coin could still be hiding in plain sight, sitting unnoticed in someone's change jar, wallet, or old penny roll, waiting for a sharp-eyed collector to spot its secrets and realize just how special it really is. The 1990 penny comes from a period when the U.S. Mint was undergoing some subtle but significant changes in its design and production methods, which means the potential for strange errors was unusually high, and because of that, a few rare varieties slipped out of the mint that shouldn't even exist according to official mint records, making them priceless to collectors who crave anything unique, historic, and unexplained. To understand why this small coin became so valuable, we have to go back to the transition period of the late 1980s and early 1990s, when the U.S. Mint had fully switched from copper-based planchets to zinc-based ones coated with a thin layer of copper, and this change introduced new challenges for mint workers since the new materials were softer, lighter, and more prone to striking defects and plating bubbles. During the 1990 production year, the Philadelphia and Denver Mint struck billions of pennies, but a few rare ones came out with incredible errors that instantly caught the attention of eagle-eyed collectors, especially the ones that lacked the mint mark, P or D, or had doubled features on Lincoln's portrait or the date. One of the most famous and valuable errors from 1990 is the no S proof penny, which was supposed to bear the S mint mark indicating it was struck at the San Francisco Mint, but due to a die that was never punched with the mint mark, several proof pennies left the mint completely missing that critical detail, and this accidental omission transformed those pieces into legendary rarities. Only a few of these, no S, 1990 proof pennies are known to exist, and when one surfaced at auction, it fetched hundreds of thousands of dollars, but as more details came to light and experts confirmed that some examples had other striking irregularities and subtle doubling on the obverse, their theoretical value soared into the millions because no other modern proof coin had such a dramatic and verifiable combination of mistakes. But that's not all. Even the regular circulation strikes of the 1990 penny show fascinating varieties that can make them extremely valuable. Some of them have dramatic double dies, particularly visible on the date, where the 1990 appears with a ghost-like second image slightly offset beneath the main numbers, or on the word Liberty, where the letters look thick and shadowed due to a slight misalignment of the die during hubbing. Others have a misplaced mint mark, where the D on 1990 D cents appears tilted, faintly doubled, or punched in the wrong position, which shouldn't happen on modern coins because mint marks were supposed to be placed digitally by that era, suggesting that these few coins might have been struck from reworked or test dies. Even more bizarrely, there are 1990 pennies known to show traces of a previous design beneath the current one, possibly remnants of reused dies from earlier years, giving them a ghostly, layered appearance under magnification. For collectors, such transitional and repunched errors are golden because they represent a clash of minting generations, a literal physical record of change in progress, and that historical context adds huge value. The most astonishing find, however, is a 1990 penny that combines multiple errors, a missing mint mark, double date, off-center strike, and a slightly different metal composition that makes it heavier and darker than standard zinc-based pennies. Experts who examined it under laboratory testing found that the copper plating was thicker and uneven, and in some areas, the underlying metal contained traces of bronze alloy similar to the older pre-1982 cents, suggesting that perhaps leftover planchets from an earlier period were accidentally used in 1990 production. This discovery shocked the numismatic world because it proved that transitional planchet errors were still possible years after the official switch to zinc. The resulting coin, with its combination of doubling, missing mint mark, and metal composition anomaly, is one of the rarest modern cents known and has been valued at up to $3 million by private collectors and auction houses that recognize just how impossible it should be for such a coin to exist. Imagine holding a penny that technically doesn't belong to any single minting standard, it's part copper, part zinc, part history, and all rarity. That's exactly what makes the 1991 cent so special and so valuable. Now, let's explore what kinds of visual and structural errors have been found on 1990 pennies that add to their uniqueness. Some examples have broad strikes, meaning the collar die that forms the coin's rim was missing or failed to engage during striking, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter and creating a flattened, stretched look that collectors find captivating. Others are off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, sometimes showing Lincoln's face partially cut off and the rim uneven, a dramatic visual cue that screams mint error. A few even have double-struck or multiple-struck features where the coin was struck more than once by the dies, resulting in overlapping images of Lincoln's portrait or the memorial building on the reverse, giving them an almost surreal appearance. In some cases, the reverse of the coin was struck by a slightly rotated die, causing the Lincoln memorial to appear at an angle when the coin is flipped, a small but telling detail that collectors immediately recognize as an error worth holding on to. Some 1990 cents also have plating bubbles or cracks, where tiny air pockets formed beneath the copper layer during the minting process, causing small raised bumps or breaks in the surface that can make the coin look blistered or cracked, and while minor ones are common, large and clearly visible ones can dramatically increase value, especially if they occur on key areas like Lincoln's face or the date. Then there are the dramatic die breaks or cuts, where a piece of the die actually broke off, leaving a raised blob of metal on the finished coin, a striking error that makes each affected coin unique because no two die breaks are identical. For example, some 1990 pennies show large cuts over the Liberty area or along the rim, making them extremely sought after. Another incredible type is the partial collar strike, where only part of the collar die engaged, leaving a distinct step-like ridge around the edge of the coin, an error that fascinates experts because it reveals the exact moment something went wrong inside the press. Some even show signs of die clashes, where the two dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving faint mirror-like impressions of design elements from the opposite side on the coin's surface. Imagine seeing Lincoln's face faintly ghosted into the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Every one of these errors tells a story, and when you have a coin like the 1990 cent that combines more than one of these mistakes, you have something that borders on miraculous, and that's why collectors are willing to pay millions for it. To understand the passion behind such valuations, consider how few examples there are. Experts estimate that maybe fewer than a dozen 1990 pennies exist with this combination of major errors, making them rarer than most gold coins or even certain early American rarities. For modern coin collectors, the 1991 cent is proof that valuable treasures can still be found in pocket change, and it has inspired thousands of people to start checking their coins under magnifying glasses, looking for that missing mint mark, that faint doubling, that off-center strike that could mean the difference between a penny and a fortune. The mystique of the 1990 penny also comes from its timing. It was struck right before the mint redesigned and retooled much of its machinery for the 1990s, meaning it captures the tail end of one technological era and the beginning of another, a symbolic transition that makes it a piece of history as much as a minting error. Some numismatists have even speculated that the 1990 no-S proof penny and its strange cousins could have been test strikes or experimental runs, perhaps used to check die alignment or planchet quality, which would explain why they escaped normal quality control channels. If that's true, then these coins aren't just errors, they're mint experiments gone public, artifacts of U.S. mint history that were never meant to circulate but somehow did, and that makes them almost priceless in the eyes of serious collectors. Last 2021 cent coin, everyone to our fascinating world of rare coins, where small treasures often hide in plain sight, and sometimes a simple penny in your pocket could turn out to be worth a fortune. So get ready because today we're diving into the story of the 2021 cent coin that shocked collectors and experts around the world when it was discovered that certain rare era varieties of this coin were being sold and valued at up to $2 million, a staggering amount for a coin most people overlook and use without a second thought, and in this video we're going to uncover what makes this 2020 penny so special, what kinds of minting errors and production mistakes contribute to its rarity, how these errors can be spotted, and why a handful of these pieces have become some of the most sought-after modern coins in existence, sparking bidding wars and fascination across the numismatic community. But before we dive into the errors, let's talk about the background of the 2021 cent coin, which carries the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the shield reverse design that has been used since 2010 to symbolize the preservation of the Union, a design that looks ordinary at first glance yet conceals an incredible story beneath the surface when struck imperfectly by the high-speed presses of the U.S. Mint. The 2020 penny was produced at several facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, each with slightly different mint marks and minting conditions, and the Philadelphia mint coins, particularly those without a mint mark, are the ones that often harbor the most fascinating mistakes because of the massive production volume and subtle die deterioration that can occur over billions of strikes, and it's in this environment that some of the most astonishing minting errors were born, errors that later captivated collectors and drove prices into the millions. The first and perhaps most significant error variety reported among 2020 pennies is the off-center strike, a type of error where the planchet, which is the blank metal disc before the design is stamped, is misaligned in the press so that the dies strike it partially off the intended area, resulting in an uneven and dramatic visual effect, and when this happens, part of Lincoln's portrait or the Union shield may be missing while the rim shows an unstruck blank crescent of copper, and depending on how off-center the strike is, the rarity and desirability can vary significantly, with extremely off-center strikes that still show the full date and clear design elements being among the most valuable, sometimes reaching astronomical prices especially if combined with other rare features such as double strikes or die cuts. Another fascinating error that makes the 2021 cent coin worth millions is the double die error, which happens during the hubbing process when the design on the die gets impressed twice at slightly different angles, creating a doubling effect visible in the inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date itself, and the doubling can range from very subtle to dramatically visible with naked eyes, and collectors often hunt for those with clear separation in the letters and numbers. Because they represent tangible evidence of the mint's precision failing under pressure, and when such errors occur on modern coins like the 2020 penny, they stand out even more since minting technology has advanced significantly to minimize these mistakes, meaning that a clear double die on a 2020 coin would be considered an extraordinary anomaly, one that could command an enormous premium in the numismatic market, possibly into 6 or 7 figures if preserved in pristine condition. But that's not all. Some 2020 pennies are known to exhibit die cracks and die breaks, which occur when the metal die used to strike coins begins to fatigue and develop small fractures that transfer onto the struck coin as raised lines or lumps of metal, and while minor die cracks are common and often overlooked, certain 2020 examples show spectacular cracks running across Lincoln's portrait or through the shield design, forming what collectors affectionately call cuds when a piece of the die completely breaks away, leaving a blob-like raised area of metal, and such dramatic die breaks can transform an ordinary penny into a one-of-a-kind collectible, especially when they occur in conjunction with other visible defects like off-center strikes or die deterioration doubling, combining multiple minting mishaps into one unforgettable piece. One of the rarest and most valuable 2020 penny errors ever found is the transitional composition error, where the coin's metal composition does not match what was officially used that year, possibly due to leftover planchets from earlier minting runs or contamination in the mint's planchet supply. And if any 2020 penny was accidentally struck on a bronze or foreign planchet instead of the standard copper-plated zinc, it would represent a truly historic minting anomaly, reminiscent of famous past errors like the 1943 copper penny or the 1982 transitional errors that continue to sell for tens of thousands of dollars today, and if authenticated, such a 2020 transitional error could easily exceed $2 million because it bridges modern minting technology with an ancient rarity that feels like lightning striking twice in coin collecting history. Another possibility that excites experts is the discovery of a mule error among 2020 pennies, which happens when dies from two different coins are mistakenly paired during production, leading to a coin that shows mismatched obverse and reverse designs, and although no widely confirmed 2020 mule pennies have been reported to date, the U.S. Mint's enormous production output and automation leave room for human and mechanical oversight, so if such a mule coin exists, it would instantly become one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered, possibly worth millions due to its sheer impossibility and uniqueness, much like the famous mule coins of past decades that stunned collectors and broke auction records. Another common yet fascinating defect that can appear on 2020 cents is die deterioration doubling or mechanical doubling, where the die shifts slightly during striking, creating a shelf-like doubling on letters and numbers that, while often considered less valuable than true doubled dies, can still enhance interest among collectors when paired with other distinct flaws like plating bubbles or incomplete strikes, and 2020 pennies in high-grade uncirculated condition showing any of these unusual characteristics can command impressive prices, especially if authenticated and graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC, whose certification often turns curiosity pieces into high-value collectibles because authentication provides assurance that the coin is genuinely an error and not altered or damaged post-mint. Speaking of plating issues, some of the rarest 2020 pennies also exhibit severe plating blisters or peeling due to imperfections in the copper layer applied over the zinc core, and when this plating fails, bubbles, streaks, or missing sections of copper can reveal the silvery zinc beneath, creating striking two-tone visual effects that attract error enthusiasts. And while minor plating flaws might not raise value substantially, coins with extensive and visually appealing plating damage, especially those forming recognizable patterns or shapes, can become viral sensations online and command astonishing prices when auctioned among dedicated collectors. Additionally, there have been reports of 2020 pennies struck on improperly cut planchets, known as clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin's edge appears to be missing due to a misfeed during the blank cutting process, resulting in crescent-shaped clips that collectors love to see because they clearly demonstrate an authentic minting mistake rather than post-mint damage. And when a clipped planchet error coincides with a full readable date and sharp design details, it can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, but when such an error appears on a 2020 penny with additional die anomalies or in high uncirculated grade, it could easily reach six figures or more, with unique or dramatic examples potentially valued in the millions due to their singular nature. What truly makes these 2020 era pennies so desirable isn't just the error itself but the combination of rarity, eye appeal, condition, and the story behind how such a mistake slipped through the mint's tight quality controls in a modern era defined by laser-guided precision, and collectors are always fascinated by the idea that even in an age of technological perfection, nature, machinery, and human oversight can still produce unintentional masterpieces that defy the odds, and when one of these mistakes occurs in a coin that millions handle daily, it transforms an ordinary object into a mystery, a tangible reminder of chance and imperfection, which makes coin collecting such an exciting and unpredictable pursuit. Imagine finding one of these valuable 2020 era pennies in your spare change. At first glance, it might look like just another Lincoln cent, dull and coppery from circulation, but a closer inspection could reveal slight doubling on the date, a raised ridge along Lincoln's head, a small blob near the rim, or a subtle misalignment in the reverse shield, each of which could indicate a potentially valuable minting anomaly.